the whole employment landscape and also the innovation landscape is evolving. What we definitely know is people, it's not just about where you study, it's all about whether you are getting yourself prepared to meet with the uncertainties in the future. The pace at which AI is evolving, we never know whether there will be jobs for engineers. Look at 10 years down the line. We will never know what kind of jobs are going to be existing. Certain jobs will phase out and there is a new set of jobs will emerge. I think the first difference that I have seen there is most of the education policies have shaped up. Those are aligned with the real industry and academia collaboration. Many of the big companies that we have seen seeing here today, including Philips or including NXP, including the big energy companies, all are in a way are spin-offs from these university incubators.
Correct. For example, I'm interested in renewable energy, so they can choose Netherlands. If I'm interested in manufacturing or something, I can choose Germany. Or even if I'm looking for aeronautical or aerospace, I can choose Toulouse as my destination.
Mostly, Indian institutions signing an MOU with international universities, and many of these MOUs stays in paper.
Yeah.
It never gets materialized. When it comes to Erasmus, of course, Erasmus is a beautiful program that I've been running since long back.
Correct.
And I've been supporting many international students in getting exposed to different cultures within Europe. So you start your program in one country, end your program in a different country. Indian students are the largest recipient of Erasmus scholarships outside the EU.
Welcome everyone. Today's conversation is for students, parents, educators, and institutions who are trying to understand how global education is evolving in a world driven by innovation, research, and rapidly changing careers. Our guest today brings a rare combination of experience across international education, innovation, and cross-border academic collaboration. Mr. Arun has worked extensively in the field of global education and innovation ecosystems, particularly bridging India and Europe. His journey spans student mobility, international partnerships, research collaboration, and innovation-led talent development. This conversation is not about choosing a country or chasing rankings. It's about understanding education, skill, research, and careers in a global context. Arun, it's a pleasure to have you with us. So thank you for accepting the invitation to join us. So you have worked across international education earlier and now in innovation partnerships. How has your perspective on global education evolved over the time?
Firstly, thank you so much, Shiva.
Yeah.
And pardon my sound. I'm a little down with the cough, which I have already told you. But of course, happy to be here with you on this, stage. And thanks for the opportunity to share my feedback on how the journey has been.
Yeah.
As you know, we met first when I was with the international education domain.
Correct.
Like 4-5 years back. The whole employment landscape and also the innovation landscape is evolving. What we definitely know is people, it's not just about where you study, but it's all about whether you are getting yourself prepared to meet with the uncertainties in the future.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what is the paradigm shift that I've seen from working on education to innovation. And I hope you also know that during my early stages in international education, most of my work was in international student recruitment.
Correct.
But this got changed to a different landscape where we work mostly on partnerships, solving critical challenges across
research and everything.
Key enabling technologies, clean healthcare, and clean energy.
Yeah.
So there are the major critical challenges that the world is facing. Happy to be a part of it and glad to be here to share some of the reflections.
Yes. So looking at your journey, what career lessons would you share with young professionals today?
I don't know whether that's apt or the right question here, but I would love to share my views on that.
Yeah.
I would personally consider myself as a perfect example of having a non-linear career. That means I started my career in banking.
Yeah.
turned into an education
Now in the
professional.
innovation industry.
Now working as a policy professional,
Yeah.
supporting the Dutch governments, especially working with innovation network. So over a period of time, things were different during my days of education, and the scope and the adaptability for getting into so-called tailor-made jobs were quite available. I mean, like a banker can easily
Yeah.
transition into something else
Correct.
because the job market was as such.
Yes.
But now, looking at the pace at which jobs are evolving, I would rather say some jobs we never know. I mean, look at 10 years down the line. We will never know what kind of jobs are going to be existing.
Yeah, yeah,
Because of
definitely.
the space at which AI is evolving, we never know whether there will be jobs for engineers. But what we definitely know is people or the students who have been well prepared enough to handle the uncertainties
Correct.
by adapting, to the changing scenarios, by being, able to think critically.
Like update as and when it is necessary.
Yes, think critically, being creative, and was able to communicate effectively, and most importantly, collaborate with other people
Yes.
and institutions. And then another, there are different C's that I have heard. Compassion.
Yeah.
So, which is also a critical thing. I think these are the values that somehow my education and my early days have helped me navigate through this.
From selling financial products to
To
the cost, what is it required for innovation and all, the budgeting part,
absolutely,
policy making, it all helps from the banking career.
absolutely, and that is, I think that's a good thing. But even I kind of like I really encourage the young generation or people who are looking at futuristic career options to make sure that you are adaptable, because you never know what is going to be the future. So be adaptable and be continuously evolving in your learning, and also in whatever you do, as a career option or as a study option. Give different tangents to it and adapt to the changing scenarios of job market,
changing, faster adjustments.
And especially if you look at you club AI with healthcare,
Yeah.
you club AI with clean energy.
Correct.
Certain jobs will phase out, and there is a new set of jobs will emerge.
Even in the consulting, it goes very fast. Even the business consulting, or you take it even in the chip making. So
absolutely.
Even I heard from my sister, she told that we are training AI on the circuit design and everything. Yeah. So I'm only training the AI so that AI can take over my job. So that is a scenario has come. So yeah.
Well, I totally get it, and I partly agree to it. But at the same point of time, the moment you come out with an option that a job can be replaced with an AI, it also opens doors for a new set of opportunities. Correct. And on many industries, so far what I have seen, say you look at sustainability, you look at education, and you also look at areas where they need policy thinking, defense, and all these areas. It's hard. I mean, it's pretty difficult to kind of replace the human consciousness, the decision making. So this is something which are set of jobs that are gonna stay, and I personally think, okay, people who are adaptable could easily fit into the ever changing dynamics if they have that knowledge.
I feel this mechanical civil will come back to the boom because you can't replace a mechanic with AI.
Yes.
You can't replace construction with any AI. You can make 3D printing, but still the whole construction system is required.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you share something on why? Because nowadays informal education is growing. Like going to school, people will say someone guy will come and say, why should I go to college? I can learn this on the training institutions. Why should I waste 4 years in engineering? Or recently a new college has come, 6 months in one country. So how do you look at these kind of things when students pursuing their education in a formal sector?
Well, I don't want to be biased, to be honest,
Yeah.
because I myself am doing an MBA. I don't want to mention any now, because I'm not just doing it just to get a degree, because the MBA, the specialized MBA that I am doing, it's a niche specialization, and I'm quite passionate about learning more in that domain. But at the same point of time, formal education and the formal degrees that we get from institutions is the foundation of what you can do in your career. And that also gives you the foundation for your continuous learning. We have been, today I'm not going to mention any university names or any particular schools, but I mean, when we talk about, people or the students or the parents, the ambition of, the students and parents to study in elite universities is because they give the value that, the value for money or the value for time that they are spending.
Correct.
So this is something that we have been seeing for a
Like
very
quality
long
of
time.
research, the lab facilities are more important in the whole scenario of education.
Not just research and quality of education, but at the same point of time,
Environment.
it is also kind of like shape you as an individual.
Correct.
That is ready for the future.
Europe is often seen as a strong in research and innovation. So from your experience, what makes their academic system so different?
Well, that's a good question. And starting from my NAFID days, I've been asked this question multiple times, particularly on Netherlands. So because we have been consistently ranked in the top 10 in innovation index.
Renewable
And that
energy.
too, that's the same case with many European countries as well. I think the first difference that I have seen there is most of the education policies have shaped up. Those are aligned with the real industry and academia collaboration. And I want to use this word triple helix because education and the outcomes are a perfect example of the triple helix mechanism that most of the European countries follow. So the government steps into when it comes to the policy making, and then the academia adopts it, and then what is required, what are the real world challenges, they will take it from the industry, and the students are getting exposed to the real world challenges much before
they enter the market.
The other markets are doing. So that is one of the reasons that Europe, as a region, or as a collectively as a region, is highly innovative when it comes to the rankings or benchmarking systems as a whole. And then comes the infrastructure. If you look at European countries, so I'm just talking about Netherlands, for example, the research institutions are their own ecosystem themselves. It's connected with industries. They have their own incubators, and many of the big companies that we have seeing here today, including Philips or including NXP, including the big energy companies, all are in a way are spin-offs from these university incubators.
Correct.
That means there is a proper support in terms of grants, in terms of subsidies, in terms of startup funding. This has been happening regularly, since last so many years.
Yeah, and also advantage of Schengen and EU one policy for complete for manufacturing or research. The mobility part is also very good in Europe.
That's been taken. The knowledge and technology transfer within the EU is
very fast.
Pretty fast and pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's you rightly mentioned. That is also one of the reasons that.
So how good, for example, as a student, if they look at Europe as their destination for pursuing good universities or a higher education, so what a student should build themselves? Means what kind of qualities that they should have when they choose Europe?
Well, I think the most important aspect of from a student's perspective that they have to do is identify a program that aligns or suits with their interest, and make sure that this is an area, or while studying this program, I want to solve this global challenge which is already existing in this sector. And Then you do your due diligence. You find out a university in a certain country, and you also have to look at uh, what exactly it is for going to this particular country, because Europe is a collective, more diverse ecosystem that you can see in across the world. Many countries where you can speak English, just English, and you can survive.
Yes.
But that's not the case in most part of Europe.
True.
You need the language proficiency. So you go to certain countries that will demand a language qualification before you enter into a formal university education there. And at the same point of time, every country will have their own niche, in segments. Say, for example, one country is quite famous for automobiles. One country is famous for energy transition. And the Netherlands, when I talk about Netherlands, we are quite proud to say that we have developed the first hydrogen valley globally in the Netherlands, in a province called Groningen, University of Groningen.
Groningen, is that correct?
Uh, and they all are kind of like working together with the international partners. Here within India, we have seen them working a lot on research R&D projects, and I'm so proud that I'm also helping
of
or
that.
being a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think with choosing a place should give you that opportunities, and more than that opportunities, you also, I mean, also to see the culture,
Cool.
that how the culture of the economy or how that culture of the country is.
For example, I'm interested in renewable energy, so they can choose Netherlands. If I'm interested in manufacturing or something, I can choose Germany. Or even if I'm looking for aeronautical or aerospace, I can choose Toulouse as my destination.
Yeah.
So it goes on based on my thing, so we can choose. And
Well, that is not just the factors that a student should choose. Because studying in Europe, especially for a middle income category student, would be pretty expensive in most of the cases. Some countries offer subsidized education for international students, and some countries won't be having that kind of
funds to
options.
subsidize.
So you also have to look at, what is the financial implication, that I'm going to have by choosing this university.
Yeah, that
Am
is
I going
absolutely
there for cultural immersion more than the academic integrity? Then you should keep multiple options. And in that case is where the scholarships and financial aid is going to be of help.
So many universities today talk about industry collaborations. In reality, how important are internships, live projects, and research partnerships for future careers?
Honestly, that is the most critical part of your higher
Formation,
education in Europe. I would say that's the backbone of your higher education. Because getting exposed to the industry means you are getting exposed to the current challenges.
Yes.
Or
Practical
getting
world.
exposed to the industry means you're also getting exposed to the challenges that can come in the future. So this is something that we have seen, which is as a mandate, which is happening in universities in the Europe, that you get early access or exposure to the world global challenges across key enabling technologies, or maybe look at the value chain. You look at climate portfolio. You look at semiconductors or material sciences. Any area for that matter, you get that exposure. And the moment you get the exposure, and you have a market leader, an industry leader who guides you that, okay, this is what we are doing now, and these are the challenges that we are facing now. Can we work on this challenge together? So your internship is something that's going to help this particular company in solving a big challenge or a part of it. And this is something which you cannot get it from the classrooms. You cannot get it just by taking an online certification. So that's something that I personally feel like the internships and the co-op opportunities are the backbone of your formal education or the higher education in Europe. And we have seen very positive outcomes from the incubators, and we have seen quite a few spin-offs who have grown substantially from the universities.
So, till now we spoke about technology, clean energy, renewable energy, or semiconductor and everything. So, can you share some insight on creative industries, business and finance continue to attract large number of students? Do you see these areas remaining dominant even as deep tech fields to grow?
Well, a good question.
Yeah,
Because yeah, I remember like last half an hour discussion that we had. Sorry for that. Most of our discussion was
on
centered on
technology, engineer.
science, technology, and STEM, to be
Correct,
precisely STEM oriented programs,
correct.
or maybe the domain.
Yes,
But I personally feel like, I mean, if you ask me about creative industries, finance, accounting, these kind of professions, what are the relevance? I would say those are the most relevant, employment opportunities that are going to stay, because now the things are, as I mentioned already, the job market, the employability landscape, and the entrepreneurship opportunities
correct,
are becoming more and more diverse.
correct.
It is evolving at a pace and evolving to a tangent that we cannot predict. So as I mentioned, it's not linear. That
Correct.
we have seen that, if you look at last 20 years or 30 years down the line from, before 30 years, and then now you look at, you can't even predict what's going to happen in
Yeah,
10 years. So this, all innovations that are coming out of it, whether it could be innovation or it could be invention, all need scale.
yes,
And to scale it, they just don't, these lab scale innovations cannot stay within lab scale.
yes.
It needs to go out to commercialize. And for that, the
Business and
finance,
finance.
people who have the financial acumen, and those who know accounting, those who know the,
Project finance,
financing,
investment
designing
banking.
of programs, and
Correct,
to market it, they also
correct.
need marketing skills.
Yes,
And these all things are not possible without being creative, without you have the financial and accounting. I think that is pretty relevant, even in the coming years. And that's how we have seen engineers doing financial
correct.
programs or MBAs
Yeah,
immediately write up their program to get a better job prospect, so that they can fit into both the domains, whether it is
absolutely.
technology domain or as a business
Business domain.
man, or if they wanna get into an entrepreneurship.
It's
Right.
like a fantasy movie giving an idea to invent something.
Yes,
So you need creativity, you need a business, you need a scalability ideas. Because the moment you invent, that has to be marketed.
yeah,
Because that already incurred some cost. The
absolutely.
R&D cost has to be recovered by selling and everything. So you need everyone as a stakeholder, as ecosystem and everything.
And I forgot to mention the creative industry,
Yeah,
because who always wants to 24/7 doctor, 24/7 engineer, 24/7 AI,
engineer.
professional?
Yeah,
Doesn't make sense. We also need singers. We
yeah.
also need, music
Actors.
composers who can
Yeah,
act well.
yeah,
So these are things that AI cannot replicate. Of course, most of our young generation, or even right now, if you ask me about our old generation, they all are getting glued to
yes,
the digital world,
yes,
the phones and the digital social media. There is a different culture that shaped up.
correct,
But I'm pretty sure now the luxury for the future. This has been considered a luxury 5 years back.
correct.
Okay, having a nice device
Phones.
in your hand and looking at it. But now, the down the line, after 10 years, when the AI and things will get mature, the real luxury would be to look at the real world,
Yes,
the real performance,
yes,
the real artists,
correct.
those who perform it. So that is something that I also have seen a very, very funny commercial that says, okay, if you want to, after 10 years, someone goes to a theater and going to buy a film ticket, movie ticket. So you've been asked, okay, this is for $100, and this ticket is of $10. So what is the difference? Those $100 is performed by
Live
real
performance.
person, real people are
Uh,
performing, and the 10 is made out of AI, and you can choose.
yeah, so
So see,
obviously we'll choose the $100.
this is the relevance of creative
Correct.
industry and all other industries that we were talking about. And I think the best part about what globally that have tried and tested, and India is also kind of replicating through the national education policy, is that the combination of programs. So the honors program that allows you to major in a certain topics, and where you can also choose minors, say a doctor with a music as a specialization.
Yeah, definitely.
Imagine
Why
an
not?
engineer with a
Theater artist.
theater art or creative way of looking at an engineer with a finance as a minor. These all are possibilities that are open for the generation, and I'm happy to be a part of this generation, witnessing it, the transformation, which unfortunately during our time it was not there.
Yeah. So, do you suggest Indian students to go abroad for their higher education?
Well, it depends. Again, it's a question, which I really don't want to give a straight through answer with a yes or no.
Correct.
Because going abroad for education comes with a lot of checkpoints.
Correct.
Say, for example, if you look at people go abroad for various reasons. First of all, better education quality and employment prospects. Say, for example, in some countries, so they offer stay back. So after completion of your program, you could apply for a stay back option in certain countries. In the USA, the certain programs are eligible for OPT, the optional practical training. So in that way, you are exposing yourself to a different country's job market, which is widely recognized globally.
Correct.
And that exposure, when you come back to your own country, that's going to give you a different set of career prospects. Maybe you could start immediately within a middle management or a senior management than your peers who are doing it from India.
Correct.
And at the same point of time, many if you look at the student mobility, I'm talking about my experience 4 years back. Pardon me if there are any changes. When I used to be in the international education space, and even until Nafik, from India, the international student mobility has been consistently, consistently have been mostly towards the Anglophonic countries.
Correct.
Look at the US, UK, Australia, New Zealand,
Canada, Ireland.
And things started changing slowly. We also have seen students going to the Europe, but mostly through scholarships and then the programs that offers them a research focused career. And this is how exactly Europe has been shaping up the higher education or internationalization strategy. But I think because of which the students, when they tend to choose these countries, they wanted to get that international exposure.
Correct.
They wanted to be a part of the ecosystem that built bigger companies in Silicon Valleys, the world-renowned companies. Who doesn't want to be a part
Everybody want.
of Apple, Google,
Yeah.
Meta, or maybe Microsoft? These big companies. Who doesn't want to be a part of the universities?
Correct.
Those who have shaped the minds who are behind this this big tech giants and also the companies. So
Yes.
this is also one of the reasons. The whole ecosystem gives you the power to kind of elevate yourself, to think out of the box and come up with ideas and solutions that can solve real world challenges.
Correct.
But I'm seeing very, very positive vibes even within the country, because many international universities are coming to India, setting up their campuses. And as per what I have read, the UGC mandate says the qualifications that the students get from the India campuses should never be different in any case to that of the primary campuses in the different country. And we have so far seen 10 or 15 international
Global
universities
campuses
have already came to India.
Yes.
And then Indian universities, for the first time, in so many years
Yeah,
have gotten to the top world ranking
correct.
frameworks.
And
I
also
think
they have opened campuses in abroad.
yes. So this is also kind of a positive change. So it's and then when we think about studying abroad, it is also a matter of financial viability. So you have to look at, okay, whether it is financially viable for me. And most of these good universities who are in these countries offers a lot of scholarship and financial aid programs. Try to explore all these financial aid programs that could help the students financial
Cut down their cost.
cost and support them in their very expensive journey, I
Yeah.
would say. I think that's those are those are some of the factors. And culture is the best part when you go to a different country. Even if you don't have if even if you think, okay, I'm pretty satisfied with the educational opportunities that I'm getting in India, I would urge each and every one of the students to at least take a short-term program or a small short-term program
Summer
in a different
programs
country,
or
a summer
vocational
program
programs.
or an immersion program, which is gaining a lot of traction, even the schools in India.
Yes.
And I personally think uh, when I was consulting for the American school district, I'm so proud that we worked together the first batch of school immersion program from India to the US, which we did it in just less than 6 months.
Yeah.
Imagine. So these are the things that gives a wider perspective for these students to look at their career and their future from a different lens, from a different cultural lens. So if they think, okay, this is the culture that I'm in, that's going to give a little bit of better exposure, I think they should go for it.
And generally, most of the students, when they go abroad, they always look for jobs. So, what are the opportunities for a student post completing their graduation in abroad, basically Europe? So, what are the entrepreneurial opportunities for them?
Um, well, job prospects in all countries, I don't want to be specifically talking about Europe. Uh, with my experience within international education, because this is one question that I have faced from many parents,
Yeah.
from India, especially India.
Yes.
Though I've handled different other regions, including Africa, Middle East, and subcontinent, different other countries. This is one pertaining question that came up often from Indian parents who are looking at abroad studies for their what are the employment opportunities that they could get. I would say it all subjective. It depends on the program that you have chosen and the opportunities that are aligned with your majors, and what is your exposure to that particular sector during the studies, not just through the classroom studies, but through the internships, through the core programs that you have done, aligning with the kind of topics that or the sectoral priorities.
Correct.
And people of course do find jobs through internships, and making a mark in a company that they go, and also creating a niche for your thing, your studies, it is pretty important. I have seen many students from India or maybe subcontinent go abroad for studies, and then diverting. The moment you go there, you cannot just survive with the money that the family sends you every
Provides.
month.
Yes.
You have to work.
Yeah, that's a
So
part.
there is a part-time. Most of the students I have seen, especially in Europe, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
People, the children start working from the age of 16,
Yes.
and they are self-sufficient
For their education.
for their
Their life.
education. And and similarly, Indian students, those who go there, they work there, and they get fairly paid compared to the local market conditions. That is something that should never take away your focus on your studies,
Correct.
which is unfortunately happening in different countries, many countries, where the students, the
Concentrate too much
international
on
students are
part-time.
have a higher concentration. because they make money, the focus on
Focus
education
shifts
is
towards money.
kindly slowly fading away. That shouldn't be happening. And at the same point of time, if you are an entrepreneur, you have entrepreneurial idea, the 4 years of your bachelor's or 2 or 3 years of your master's are the perfect time for you to find out your right partners.
Correct.
You cannot start anything by yourself in a different country. You need partners
Partners.
who are experienced in different areas of your, say you have an idea that can solve a challenge, and you build a product or a solution or a service around it. How to scale it depends on your team and the passion towards building that, and of course the ecosystem that can support it. I would say in Europe, you have a real time world, idea that can solve a global challenge.
Correct.
What I have seen, at least in the Netherlands, there is a very
Innovation
strong,
hub.
supportive ecosystem through various forms of grants and subsidies that you
In the
could
government.
apply, even at the early stage of your startup until TRL3, and from TRL3 to TRL6, the demonstration and pilots, there are different programs which you can apply through the government. And also there is a strong public-private partnership models. They have seen success stories across different sectors. And then individual institutional and investors, they don't hesitate even stepping into the early stage of your ideation stage of
idea
your
stage, yes.
startup. So which is pretty good even in Europe and other developed market. And India is also making a steady progress. I'm so happy to see the new ANRF funds.
Correct.
12 billion funds recently allocated by Department of Science and Technology through the NRF Foundation. I think these are things that are going to change the Indian landscape as well.
So, how can Indian universities collaborate more with European institutions through research, innovation, projects, and academic partnerships?
Well, I would say the opportunities are kind of endless. You can explore a wide range of conventional and the non-conventional routes of transnational education partnerships. I come from the TNE, background. I can definitely say that so far what we have seen until last 4-5 years was mostly, Indian institutions signing an MOU with international universities. And many of these MOUs stays in paper.
Yeah.
It never gets materialized.
Correct.
And the students exploring different. So why such TNE education pathways are enabled? It is for the students from both the sides to explore both the sides.
Both the sides, yes.
So it could be educational immersion. It could also be cultural immersion. And I've seen students coming to India involved in social activities, say, for example. So these all are a part of this TNE partnership journey. But unfortunately, most of these MOUs, the kind of collaboration contracts, stays within the paper, or those are just photo moments. Okay, they take pictures, and this is for the social media. And even if that happens,
correct,
90% of it is one-way street. Indian students do go to different countries, but the other side is not reciprocating. I think that concept is something that needs to change, and how to change it is something that the Indian side also needs to kind of sit, evaluate how we could make our way of immersion more and more exciting, interesting, and promising and productive for the other side.
Absolutely.
It could be in the form of short-term programs.
Yes.
We could start with a hybrid immersion between maybe a small program, which could be a hybrid. Say, for example, I remember we did a hydrogen hackathon in 2024 between the Netherlands and India. There were about 15 teams or 20 teams from both the countries participated completely virtually.
Correct.
Okay. So we divided the teams further into different 5, 6 different sets where there is a collaboration between these students will happen.
Correct.
Finally, we've selected one group who have performed exceptionally well towards the topic that we have identified for that particular hackathon. And of course, they have been felicitated.
Both
We
the
took them
sides.
for World Hydrogen Summit.
Oh,
The winning
super.
team also was from Kerala, a college team. I'm so happy and proud, that we could do this completely, virtual setting.
Virtual, correct.
So so from India, when we talk about this kind of TNE partnerships, it's always like, okay, we go there and they come there, they come here. Sometimes,
Correct.
even if they don't come here, we go there. Okay,
Correct.
this is the attitude, or this is something that needs to change when it comes to international partnerships, not just with Europe, but with many
everyone.
any country for
Anyone.
that, any
Yes.
any international university for that matter. Involve your faculties, involve your students to work on that
Correct.
particular project, and
Very true.
involve. Then comes, once you create that kind of a consortia, then comes the grant subsidies that you can apply
That's the
from
next level
both
of
the
things.
both the
Yes.
sides. And we have seen many as such happening between Europe and India, especially in Horizon. Horizon Europe is a research program which is specifically within EU and
EU.
within the associated countries. India unfortunately is not a associated country, but India can join Horizon programs as a country that can co-fund certain program.
Correct.
So we have seen in the last 2 years, I have seen two amazing calls. One on integrated biorefineries, and one is on hydrogen production from biogenic sources.
Oh, nice.
Explore this kind. If there is a mechanism, because from India we need a joint co-funding program.
Correct.
And Horizon calls are bigger funding programs like 15 million, 20 million programs. So once we get this opportunity, I think the even Indian universities have to make use of it. And we have seen solid results coming out of this program. And because most of these programs are TRL 5+, so it makes sense for both the sides when it comes to this. The solution that they develop become commercialized.
So, in Europe, there are many scholarships, even the university level and EU level and everything. So, Erasmus earlier played a strong role in collaboration. Beyond funding, what broader value do such academic collaborations create?
Well, scholarships play a very critical role in
Yeah.
ensuring that there is a balance
Yes.
in
Yes,
the
that is the most important for student to save and everything.
absolutely. And it also makes sure that it gives you as a country that follows certain values, it gives the country the opportunity to kind of like give options to students coming from underprivileged segments, those who are studious, still they want to explore international opportunities. So that's when the scholarships plays a very critical role. Not just Erasmus, but any forms of financial aid that could help a student from a difficult situation, a financially difficult situation, to kind of get exposed to a world class education. I'm quite supportive of it. When it comes to Erasmus, of course, Erasmus is a beautiful program that have been running since long back.
Correct.
And I've been supporting many international students in getting exposed to different cultures within Europe. So you start your program in one country, end your program in a different country. In
Correct.
the meanwhile, you cover 3 to 4 countries,
Yes.
different universities. That is the kind of exposure that you cannot expect that from many programs, unless your university have such a strong network, where you can study one semester here, one in the US and one somewhere else.
Correct.
It rarely happens. Erasmus gives you that kind of opportunity. And so far about the last data that I know of, like maybe 2-3 years back, Indian students are the largest recipient of Erasmus scholarships
Yeah.
outside the EU,
Mm.
and which that essentially means that because these programs, the kind of programs that the Erasmus recipients choose are very mostly 90% research intense
True.
programs. That means there is a strong inclination for the generations exponentially or consecutively growing that numbers uh, towards getting exposed to that kind of an ecosystem, the R&D research intense ecosystem in the Europe, which we have seen in India. And I think that is the financial aids, apart from Erasmus, also plays a very critical role. Many universities in Europe, if you look at, if there are no government subsidies or programs to fund your education, I have seen many universities have their own in-house programs, maybe a chancellor's VC fellowship or maybe vice chancellor scholarships, etc., etc. So there is an option for everyone to kind of get their financial aid or scholarships, from Europe and across the world. It's just a matter of you identify
Which
the
one
right
would-
university and the right financial program that you want to choose.
So, for example, if a student want to choose between English speaking and a Euro, which one do you suggest?
Well,
Because
I
this is
wish I could
most
say,
question most student asks. Why should I choose?
I wish I could say, I don't want to answer that question, but I still, I would say, see, it all depends. As I, mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter, an English speaking country, you go to an English speaking country just because you can speak in English. Trust me, that's a myth.
Correct.
You survive in a different country, in a different setting, in a different, among a different people, those who have completely different civic sense. And the biggest, the cultural shock that you're going to get, once you're in that country. These are things that you can somehow, a little bit you can manage, with your language. But that's not the case. A major chunk of your career is depending on, the country, the education system, and also different other factors. Okay, the opportunities that are existing in that market, or maybe broader connected to that broader ecosystem.
Correct.
What is there in place? I think in that way, it's a kind of like a tricky question to say, uh, yes or no, because both has its own advantage and disadvantage.
Disadvantage, yes.
You go to Europe, you learn a new language, you learn a new culture. There are opportunities. At the same
But
time, yeah.
whenever they go to Europe, the cost of education in comparison to these countries is literally half. The difference is a language learning.
Yeah.
So that makes financially viable for Indian middle class.
Well, that is also true. The many of the European countries even have subsidized their higher education, into zero. So you don't have to pay any tuition as such, except you have to manage your other expenses. Learning a new language is always nice to have.
Correct.
Because you get that kind of exposure
Yeah.
in that country. And there are many innovations, many big players, that are dominating across different sectors. You can see from Europe and other developed countries. So it all depends on what you want to be. It's nothing about where you want to study. It's about what you want to become and how you want to become and how you want to stay relevant for the future.
Okay.
So that's a
So for last question of our this thing, so share one message to the students and parents if they are in a position to take a decision of going abroad.
well. I think most of our conversations, today was around choosing a higher education or destination, what are the positives and negatives. But for students and parents, I would say they should have a clear-cut understanding about what they want to do, not get influenced by people or maybe external influences, peer pressure,
True.
faculty pressure and family pressure.
Correct.
Okay, these all are things that could, at some point of time, could adversely affect the decision making of a student or a parent choosing a different country. Identifying the right source of information is very critical for any student or parent choosing an international education. Which, first of all, before they consult it with someone else, they should have their own understanding about which program I want to choose, which country I want to go, and what is the kind of culture that the country has. Is that culture is something which is aligning with, or maybe I could adapt to it. Hmm? Once the cultural adaptation happens, then you think about, okay, which university or in this country am I looking into, what is the university's reputation, and then what are the entry requirements, and what I should be doing it. In some cases, if you want to study in a good university, your 10 plus 2 or maybe your bachelor's academic credentials won't be just enough. You should
True.
have started your preparation. Say, for example, you want to go to Harvard or Princeton or Yale. They will not just look at your academic credentials. Doesn't matter you score 100 out of 100. Doesn't matter. So the student, you should have a passion towards that subject.
Correct.
You should have started your work. Say, create your own portfolio. Say you want to do, you want to become an astronaut. Okay. What have you done? Okay. When did you choose to become an astronaut? From high school? Did you do something for it? Did you do any sort of projects?
Correct.
You should have solid evidence that should go with your SOP.
Correct.
So this is very critical for choosing, any international education for that matter. And at the same point of time, language, culture, everything plays a very critical role. Finally, to end with financial viability. So this is also, you have to kind of like align, you have to also evaluate, do a kind of like a, evaluation on whether investing in a international education in such a university, in such a program, is worth compared to what I could,
Get in India.
get in India or maybe in some other part of the world. So I think those are critical aspects that every student and parent needs to consult. And taking expert opinion is also very critical. So you could consult with multiple people. Just like, say, for example, you got identified for a terminal illness from one hospital. You will not just consult it with one doctor and go for a
Take an
surgical procedure.
second
You'll always go for second opinion or third opinion.
Correct.
I would suggest your own research is your first opinion, and then you go for the expert opinion in a second. So then you will have less influence on external interventions that are coming into your decision making process.
Correct.
So the other party could always help you on your visa or maybe some other question that are critical for your application.
Arun, thank you so much for a thoughtful and grounded conversation. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shiva. It's
Yeah.
been a great pleasure being here
Yeah.
today, and I really feel like I'm back to my education days. It's
Thank
been
you.
4 years. I moved away from that sector or industry, but that is something that stays very close to my heart. And still, though I'm working in innovation, there is a lot of overlap. You can see like education and innovation.
Correct.
Without education, there is no
Correct.
innovation.
Correct.
So I'm pretty happy to contribute towards this session, and I'm sure at least some of your viewers or the parents or students or even higher institutions would get benefit out of it. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, please maybe by the end
Yeah.
of this session they could reach out to you.
Sure.
And
Definitely.
if there are any questions, I would be always happy to address it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What stands out clearly in the global education today is less about destinations and more about directions. Direction in skill, research, innovation, and long term readiness. For everyone listening, the key takeaway is simple: focus on alignment, depth of learning, and adaptability, not just labels. Arun, thank you once again, and thank you to our audience for joining us.